Alright, Rocker's joining me by phone right now, the frontman of New Jersey's legendary thrash metal bands, and someone I am honored to call a friend, even though he's a New Jersey Devils fan. Yes, that's right, the one and only Bobby Blitz of Overkill right now, here inside the ASYLUM. Blitz, what's going on, man?
Rocking it out with my buddy Terrible on the ASYLUM, man. This is what it's all about today.
Awesome, man. Thank you, as always, for taking the time out. I know you're busy. You got a lot going on right now. You're getting ready to go out on tour with Symphony X, and everyone's looking forward to that one. And everyone's kind of wondering how that one came together, because I know a lot of people kind of wouldn't put Symphony X when they think of Overkill, or vice versa. So how did you guys end up linking up for a tour together?
Well, I think there's a couple of factors here, and the first and foremost is that we've known these guys for years. They're also Jersey guys. They rented a rehearsal studio from Dee Dee for years. So, I mean, Overkill was laying tracks in the recording part of the studio, and these guys were rehearsing in, a room down the hall. So I think that friendship has been existent now for, a good part of a decade, that we've known Mike and Russell and the other Mikes and Jason. So we're always rooting for each other. It's one of those types of things. I think to some degree that's one of the precursors or prerequisites of living in Jersey, is that you root for other Jersey guys. I mean, so you want to see them do well. Now, the second part of it is that why not talk about a tour when you're having a beer in the hallway or taking a break from recording? And we've always been talking about doing a tour, and probably thinking in terms of, the cool thing about, let's say, two thrash bands or two progressive bands is that you get two for the price of one. But the cool thing about a thrash band and a progressive band is that there's a big gray area. That if, Symphony can go out and do their own headline, and obviously we can go out and do our own headline, the idea is that doing it together, we're playing to each other's people, which is the gray area I'm talking about. So the idea was to put in, sure, two metal bands, but two distinctively different ones, as to try to up the attendance around the whole country, so that it becomes a win-win situation for the tour itself. For people that wouldn't normally see Overkill but would see Symphony X, or people that normally wouldn't see Symphony X and would see Overkill, now get to experience both of it. So we thought it was a good, let's say, business model, and a good way to go out and celebrate New Jersey across the U.S.
Oh, of course. I mean, both bands very well known here in the New York, New Jersey area, so what better way to bring both than to the to North America and the rest of the states, than to do that. And the other thing I think is interesting is, you guys are tapping into, you call it that gray area in between, but it's kind of becoming the trend now. Bands of different styles, and even varying genres, like thrash versus progressive, or symphonic with some of the heavier stuff. You think maybe we're heading more towards a unification under rock and metal, as opposed to all the different separation we've had over the years of genres?
Well, I think you're right, and I think somewhat of the answer in there is that by closing those gaps, it actually, to some degree, makes the entire scene stronger. Ours is a model, for our business, for our way of touring. This is a new experience for us. But to close that gap, even a little bit between, let's say, us and Symphony, only makes it good all the way around, not just for the bands, but for the people that are into this stuff. Because, somewhere out there, this makes the whole thing a little bit stronger. the guy has all the Symphony stuff, and the new one, Underworld, is their favorite, or whatever it may be, whichever their favorite is. I think the idea now is that you might see some Overkill in that catalog, this guy or girl, and vice versa. So sure, I mean, closing the gap is what it's all about. There's going to be some strength that comes out of this. To what degree, we don't know. I mean, to what degree, it's to some degree an experiment. But, on the other end of it, it's a no-lose experiment, because people want to see Symphony and people want to see Overkill. So, I'm always willing to take a chance, and I thought that was one of the exciting things about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you always want that opportunity to turn new people onto new music, and that's what it's always been about from day one. I can't tell you how many bands I've heard because they were on tour with somebody else that I went to see, and you end up going, oh shit, I never heard of them, they're good, and then next thing you know, you're out there buying their entire catalog.
Well, I mean, isn't that the idea? I mean, we've of course been around for a long period of time, longer than Symphony X, obviously. They've been around though and have some history, so it's not new bands. But I think that when you look at their new record, you look at White Devil Armory. Sure, ours is a thrash band and theirs is a progressive band, but I think there's something in there for everybody. Even though there's a difference when it comes to a subgenre, there's probably more similarity than difference. It's just that presentation. When you look at the whole record, the cohesiveness of, for instance, Underworld, or the cohesiveness of White Devil Armory, that's where the difference comes from. But within that difference, or in that cohesive presentation, you also find similarities, and I think that's where people can be surprised, and that's the idea of this tour.
Right, and not only that, but I think people often forget too that while Symphony X and Overkill are very very different in styles, what it comes down to is the influences. You go back and I'd be willing to bet every member of Overkill shares some kind of musical influence with every member of Symphony X. And that's really kind of what it all boils down to when you're talking rock and metal.
I think when you talk about metal bands and you go back from, my era, you go back into, those original Sabbath records, but still all the way up to the 13, but you also go into the original Priest, but also up to Redeemer of Souls, and so on, or Book of Souls, and then all the way back to Number of the Beast or Killers by Iron Maiden. But I think that you'll find that similarity of, spawning someone else in another band like Symphony to, and I can't speak for them, but they'll find those influences. You could find those influences in those guys too. I think it's how you interpret the influence is what makes the subgenre. But separation right now is not always necessarily the best thing. I think that, as the bands get older, and for us to some degree more aggressive, and to those guys maybe more progressive, that those similarities and influences can still be celebrated.
Absolutely. And, speaking of more aggressive, after seeing you and guys at the Rock Against Dystrophy benefit a couple weeks ago, and last year out on tour for White Devil Armory, for a bunch of guys that have been going at it for probably as many years as I've been around, I tell you what, you guys bring one hell of a show every night, and I can't help but wonder, how much does it weigh on you guys? Because some of the guys that have been around as long as you have are starting to pack it in, but you and the guys are showing no sign of stopping or slowing down. Are you guys doing something different, or maybe drinking something different we should know about?
Well, I can tell you, it's one principle: never spend your money on cheap drugs. Always go to the always go to the top. I don't know what it is. I think, I think somewhere in there there's pride. You take pride and tenacity and you put it together. You get, it's an explosive kind of a chemical reaction. And we obviously have pride, and, we have a set of brass balls on us too. We're a band that its pride is based on the fact that for, live for, even before we were signed for almost a 30-year period at this time, pride ourselves in being able to deliver the goods. I mean, if you can't deliver the goods, how would I have my pride? So I suppose that it's an internal start for that explosion that happens on the stage. But I think that when we believe that we can do it, that's the tenacity. But the pride we have helps us deliver that. So it's never been about, for us, oh, this is too hard. I've always felt that each show is the most important show. What's your biggest show? Well, my next biggest show is Worcester, Mass. When this tour starts, that'll be the most important show of my career. I think, if you could take that principle or that ideology from day to day, then delivering the goods is easy if you have pride and tenacity. It's not about the good drugs. It's about that internal chemistry, I think, that makes up the persons, and the entire band. So that's, I think that if I had to put it in words, that's the Overkill formula.
Yeah, and you guys do it, night in, night out, and you bring it 100% each and every show, and that's something that, that pride that you talk about, that you have, and that the rest of the guys have, it shows, and it also carries over, into the fans and into the audience. There are many a time where I go to a show and either the band is giving 100% and the audience isn't, or vice versa. And being at Starland last fall with you guys for White Double Armory, I kind of sat there on the side looking, and I was almost wondering, it almost looked like a competition between you Overkill versus the fans as to who could feed the other as far as energy was concerned.
Well, it's a good point, and competition is a great word for it, because this is competitive, whether it's friendly competitive or not friendly competitive. I remember doing, I don't know if I ever told you the story, but, we were touring with Exodus, and I loved the competition because we were kind of cut from the same cloth, and it was, it's kind of hard to win in that situation, but, I always think of Overkill as going in to win. And friendly competition can always be healthy. And I remember Gary Holt walking off the stage in Spain, and he had a great show, and I had just watched it, right? And he was sweating his ass off, and he's got that kind of Western gunslinger attitude about things, kind of a crooked smile, that whole thing. And he goes to me, he's walking down from off the stage, and we're getting ready to go on, and he's walking down, and he goes, "Beat that, Mr. Ellsworth." And I said, "My pleasure." So I think somewhere in that answer is that tenacity, and where that pride comes from is, I understand history. I've lived in history. It's my whole life has been history. The majority of it is behind me, I think, and when I'm most proud is when I live in the present. Of course, I think history is important. Then I have to know the steps. I have to know where I've been to know where I'm going. But what I'm most proud of, or that pride that I spoke of when it comes to Overkill, is about being known for what we are as opposed to being known for what we were. And I think that right in that statement comes that competitive edge, that you still have the fight in you. You might be the old fighter. You might have been down on the canvas, but watch me get up again. And that to me is a way. When I put that motorcycle boot on the stage, somewhere in my head or my subconscious, that's what I'm thinking.
It's true. You gotta focus on the here and now and where you're going as opposed to where you've been. Otherwise, you're just going to sit around and collect dust. That's something, I live by and many live by. And, you bring up, that brings up something interesting. Because, I've noticed, and I want to get your take on this, Blitz, because, Overkill is lucky enough to be one of those bands that have been around for 30 plus years, and bands like Iron Maiden are still making new material, and you're making new material. And you've always got these fans, or these fair weather fans, as I like to call them, that when the new album comes out, they're worried about, oh, well, it doesn't sound like, in the case of Maiden, right away, it's not Power Slave, or it's not Seventh Son, or it sounds too much like Seventh Son, or maybe it's recycled. Do you think, maybe that too many people are looking for that nostalgia sound when bands that have been around for so long are still making new music, and great new music at that?
Well, it's a good question. We live in an age where everyone is a critic, and I'm sure you could probably say that about all ages to some degree, whether it be the past or the present. But, one of the things that the present offers us is the ability for, the fan, the critic, the purchaser of music, to be able to sit behind his computer and critique it, and send it out and have opinions with regard to it. So I think opinions first and foremost are out there to be heard on a much heavier, larger, weighted basis than they ever have in the past. Because anybody with two fingers and a thought can put something out there. Mm-hmm. So I think that you get more criticism, in the modern day. But I also think, that, first of all, in our case, and I'll only speak for myself, as opposed to other bands, I could speculate when it comes to other bands, like talking about Symphony X and that, that gray area we're talking about, because we've actually had these conversations with those guys. So that shit was said, but when it comes to opinion, I think that, Overkill's, key to dealing with it, it's really not giving a shit, and there's a beauty in not giving a shit. I mean, if I say I don't give a shit, people may have an opinion that he doesn't give a shit about anything. Well, no, that's not true. I don't give a shit about your opinion. I really, really give a shit about what I do, right. and I'm not hurt by your opinion. I think that it frees me to take myself out of the picture, to be not swayed by the opinion, and give a shit more so about where we are and what we do. So I think there's a beauty in saying, hey, I don't give a shit if you don't like it, because you don't think it's like the last record. I give a shit that we don't have an identity crisis, that we're a dependable band. I give a shit that when it comes to delivering the goods, I believe we can. When it comes to winning, I believe we can. I give a shit about this. Right. You want to come along? You're more than welcome. You're going to sit here, you're going to bother me with your opinions? I don't give a shit. so somewhere in what sounds like a statement of ridiculously not caring, I actually care a hell of a lot. But I'm not going to be swayed or hurt by opinion, and I think within that, it's given myself, the other members of Overkill, us as a band, the ability to overlook what modern technology or the modern world of social media, pollutes the world with, and that's with so much opinion. It's good that people have opinions, but I don't necessarily want to live by them. If I did, I think that Overkill would not be Overkill. I think if Dee Dee did, Overkill would not be Overkill. We're old dogs, man. We don't really care what the new dogs have to say about us, or other people. So I think that within that becomes, there's a breath of fresh air in that, and I think that breath of fresh air is even breathed in by those who appreciate this band. That say, hey, one of the reasons I like these guys is because what they do give a shit about is the shit I like. So I think that somewhere in there that opinion kind of a statement, there's some beauty in not giving a shit.
Well, and not only that, but if you're lucky, the fact that they're giving their opinion on new material, you'll hope that you've at least, if they don't like it, at least you've gotten them for their money for purchasing the album, and that they didn't go the cheap way and stream it online for nothing, so to speak.
I knew a long time ago that this wasn't for everybody. You know what I'm saying? This was never about endearing ourselves to the masses. And I remember when my niece, I may have told you this too. My niece is now in university, and she had been asking everybody in the family. She asked her, and that tell me about how you run your business and what you do and how you see it. She went to everybody. She went to her father. She went to my father. She was, my mom. Everybody's talking to aunts or uncles. She got to me. She's like, "Hey, Uncle Bobby, tell me about what you do." I said, "Katie, I've spent 25 years alienating myself from the masses and endearing myself to a select few." That's what I do. And to some degree, that's the truth. So if you look at us from a business model, we're what would be called a small business that has a niche market.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody likes it, and we get that. But the people who do like it love it, and then something in there to be said for that niche market.
Yeah, and the same goes really for the entire genre of rock and metal. It's always been a niche market from the beginning. It's out there to make everybody love it. Either you're into it or you're not. It's that simple. And I mean, hey, it's all about what you like, and it's that simple. Good tunes are good tunes. That's how I look at it.
Well, isn't it great that we have choice?
Mm-hmm.
And isn't what that tour? What this tour we were talking about? Isn't that what it's all about? That we've put people in a position to go see a band they like and have the choice to see another band that maybe they haven't been exposed to on such a large level. So, and sure, people come out with an opinion. That's just the way it is. I have opinions. I didn't like that show. I didn't like that ball game. I hated going to see the Rangers with my friend Turbo because we lost. I have opinions.
We told you. You lost that game because you and Lieutenant Mike got stuck in traffic because you ran late. That's what it was. You did it to yourself.
I gotta tell you, they were the best seats I ever had in car.
Listen, I told you at the game, and I'll tell you again. When you hang out with a crippled person, you get benefits that go with it, man.
I never thought of it that way, but you're 100% right.
Hey, there's the rock star.
My wife keeps saying to me, "Are you taking advantage of that crippled friend of yours?" He gets good tickets.
Hey, there's the rock star life, and then there's the cripple life, and when you can combine the two, it always ends up being a good combination. And luckily those seats are good, and they were able to be achieved, and we had a hell of a night. Like I said, unfortunately for you, we kicked your ass like I told you we would, but that's what comes with the territory.
I have red and black blood coming through my veins living here in New Jersey, and I do understand that it's going to be a long road to toe to be back to a powerhouse again. But I will not abandon my New Jersey Devils.
No, trust me, I know you won't. It's like I don't abandon my Rangers, no matter how bad it gets, even during that 7-year funk we had of no playoffs, and yeesh, that was hell, for
Well,
sure.
I mean, is it going to be great that now for the next few years to come, speaking of opinions, you can give me yours about how you think my team sucks?
Hey, it's about time. There were many years I looked across that river and flipped the finger, as I rode past, the arena there when it was in the Meadowlands. I'd be cursing it as I go by it, like, you rat bastards. Now the shoe is on the other foot, man.
Well, but I can still, like I said, I have to know where I've been to where I'm going to. So when I think about back where I've been, I take much solace and comfort in the fact that we ruined most of your springs over the last 15 years.
It's true. Too many years I watched. Too many years I put the blue away in April or May as the red continued on. So now it's the other way around. But then again, this year I never even put my jerseys away. I never got around to it. They're still sitting on my door. Oh, it's really.
I'll tell you, nothing better than hockey and metal. Nothing better.
You ain't kidding. And speaking
Yep.
speaking of where you guys have been, I'd be amiss if we didn't bring up before I let you go, Blitz, because I know you got a lot going on. I'd be amiss if we didn't touch on a little bit of Overkill history, because you guys, with the courtesy of Nuclear Blast Records, are coming out with your first box set entitled Historikill. Are you surprised that you even have enough for a box set? Did you have that moment of like, wait, really?
Well, I mean, there's no surprise because we're really the architects of this. I mean, it's Nuclear was I don't know, wanting to partner with us worldwide for years now, and they've become a great powerhouse in regard to metal promotion. I mean, they're really they're really kind of the Microsoft of metal when it comes to the amount of bands they have in their stable, the quality of those bands they have in their stable, the great releases they have. Back in the 90s, there was that dark era of metal. It just, grunge kind of stepped on it, with Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit, and it became this, it became a national phenomenon, and really a worldwide phenomenon. And did, kind of force metal back into the underground. It was kind of a dirty word for a while. It was like, everybody, they traded in their speed addictions for heroin addictions. It was a depressive time when it came to, music. And I think that, whatever, that's what, public opinion wanted. It came in. It was, some of it was some great stuff. I mean, record-setting stuff. Not really my cup of tea across the board. But some good things I saw in it, but it really crushed metal and started forcing it back to the underground. And you saw, especially on the level we were at, you saw a lot of bands just disbanding. They just went away. Went home and lived with mom and dad, lived in the basement, played their guitars, and drank cheap beer. I don't know what they did, but so obviously started great businesses and went on to do great things. And some hung around. And Overkill was one of the bands that hung around. And I remember back then, we were coming off of a major label. And probably due to the fact that, the financial climate had changed for metal. And Atlantic Records let us go. And Dee Dee and I started managing the band back then. And we kind of realized that it was going to have to be done differently. And over the course of our career, stuff has happened to us where we've had to kind of reinvent our business plan to how we were going to present Overkill. And this was really the first jumping off point for us. And we started cutting deals that were licensing deals back then with other labels. They were smaller labels than Atlantic, but they were all in. They were CMC Records, they were Spitfire Records, Eagle Vision, a label overseas called Beetle, Regain. We went on and on with different labels that, if we couldn't find what we needed, we would search and search. And this is why it made it harder during that era, and probably why a lot of bands disbanded. But, we put ourselves in a position where we started, making our cash flow positive, that we could still keep doing what we loved doing because we were the managers, and we were making some good decisions. And then when Nuclear came along and said, hey, man, we want you guys for a worldwide thing, and that's only recent news for us, we said, guess what? We've got a box set of 11 CDs from the dark ages of metal, when not a lot of people knew about it. They know about the early days, that early thrash explosion in the 80s, and they know about the thrash explosion again since 2005. We own that whole piece. And if somebody wants to catch up with a history lesson with regards to what was happening between 95 and 2007, this is it. And I think that's the charm of this whole thing. The metal never went away; it just went back to the underground. And sure, there was people who followed this. These were qualified releases. They were getting reviews. I mean, there's videos that accompany them. But metal itself had a waning popularity, therefore a waning populace. So now the newer kids are getting into this since, for instance, our Ironbound record, since Except Stalingrad, since Exodus, Exodus's Atrocity.
Mm-hmm.
There's other shit that precedes that, and that's what Historikill's all about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at, the lineup on it. It goes from Wrecking Your Neck all the way through to Immortalis. I know the one that jumps out at me, of course, is the Historikill album, which is going to be part of this box set, because I've actually tried to track that album down. You would not believe what that album is going for on Amazon, on eBay, because it just seems to be that rare overkill album out there. And I looked at it and I'm going, here you guys did cover albums before cover albums were the thing to do.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I remember that being a unique situation for us and a unique opportunity because back in the 80s and early 90s, we always wanted what was called the domestic Japanese release, and the domestic Japanese releases it cost more to manufacture it on the island of Japan. So what would end up happening would be from Eastern Europe they would flood the Japanese market with cheaper imports. So if we wanted that domestic release, that would be the only way we could tour Japan, by actual domestic sales. So they came up with this idea of having us add, a bonus track or two to the Japanese releases. So these cover songs were stuff we would do. We'd do the solid Overkill record, then we'd pick something that we liked, and it would be specifically for that Japanese release. So when we collected some of these songs, the rest of the world had never heard some of these. So we started adding a few more covers to it. So the unique part about it is that it really is, it's kind of a history of the band doing that stuff. Sure, we did a few covers that right off the cuff when we were recording this and putting it together. But that was the idea behind Historikill was, wow, look at all these little, other songs they've collected by just adding them to the Japanese domestic releases.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the best way to put it together, and from a business aspect, it obviously worked well for Overkill to do that, especially to get into Japan, and that's what needs to be done. I know Historikill is one of the albums from that era I am looking forward to listening to once I get my hands on a copy of this box set. I urge everyone to do so. From what I have, it's scheduled to be out on September 18th, so keep your eyes open for that. Blitz, I know, we talked about some of the albums. I know when you sent me a couple of albums about a year ago, and we were talking about Relics 14. I know you weren't happy with that album originally when it came out. And are there any albums in this box set that you guys went and maybe fixed up a little bit to where it sounds where you wanted it to sound when it came out originally? Or are these basically, hey, if you missed it and you couldn't find it, here it is?
Yeah, it's not like a rehash, you know? I mean, I'm a firm believer in the fact that history is necessary, like we said before, and I like the fact that, you know, what it is what it is. And I was only disappointed with that Relics record with regard to its production quality. You know, I mean, you know, when I said we manage each other, we're a real hands-on kind of a team here. You know, everybody's involved, from Ron to Dee Dee, Derek and Dave, and myself. And when it comes to production, we all have those opinions we spoke about earlier. But it's a hands-on type situation. We have to be happy with what we're doing. We can just never get it with that record Relics. But contrary to that, for instance, there's a record called The Underground and Below. Mm-hmm. And this was released in '97. This, to me, is a quintessential Overkill record of that era, and still one of my favorites in the entire catalog. The idea of that record is we reinvented our sound to some degree, especially from production quality. We took a step into that new millennium for us. This was going to be the precursor of things to come for us. Sound, approach, songwriting. It's an absolute cohesive record from start to finish. And when I put that record in, if I have to brush up on a tune that we're doing from that release, I listen to the whole record. I don't just listen to the tune. And that, to me, is success in a writing record or creating a record, is that you want to press play, you want to put the needle down, you want to hit your iPod, you want to hear from note one all the way to the last note. So this is what's in that. Sure, is there a few misses in there? I'm sure there are a few misses with regard to opinions. But in my opinion, it was a great 11 steps for us to show where we are today.
Well, I tell you what, I know it's going to help many people fill up their metal catalog, their Overkill catalog, and who knows, maybe introduce a whole new audience to a genre they never knew existed, because everyone's going to run out and buy it and make it a #1 bestseller on iTunes and Billboard and all that good stuff. That's what I say. That's what should happen. Whether it happens or not, we'll wait and see, but I say it should happen.
We used to say buy or die.
I don't know if that works anymore. With everyone,
no, it don't work anymore.
Yeah, everyone's downloading.
I'm not as threatening as I used to be in my 20s. I'm actually turning into a nice person.
That's very true. That is the truth, Blitz. John, go out there, see Overkill and Symphony X rolling out on tour very, very soon, from about now through late October, and get Historikill 1995 to 2007 coming out on Nuclear Blast Records on September 18th. Blitz, I'm going to have you pitch something from the box set, being that we discussed From the Underground and Below. Why don't we give me something off of that, maybe one of your favorites off of that for everyone here to listen to.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America and all ships at sea. That's right, this is Bobby Blitz from Overkill. We're on the ASYLUM right now. Going back to 1997, the record From the Underground and Below, the track Long Time Died.